I got into the sport because my father did it when he was a young lad. And the stories he told of camaraderie, of fun, of friendship, even of the laughter that he'd have around the sheds, it created an imagination in me of the experiences I could have. And I was playing cricket at the time and I wanted to try something new. There was also boys and girls around who were incredibly fit. We would often train over 20 hours a week, sometimes over 30 to 35 hours a week of training time. So that would be often 3 sessions on a lot of days of the week. So about 5 days a week we'd be doing 3 training sessions a day. On the other 2 days we'd only do 2 sessions, they were the lighter days, and then we'd have a day off on Sundays.
The crew from New South Wales, so currently it's WA in the lead, New South Wales in second. Amongst the other crews, Queensland, Tasmania, South Australia.
There's actually quite a few different occasions throughout the 18 years of my career where I definitely thought about quitting, or there's times when I took some time away from the sport to consider if I wanted to continue. When I'm noticing myself asking those questions, why am I here? Why am I putting myself through this? That's when I know that I have to do the work and create clarity on my purpose. So I'd step back from what I'm doing. I'd make sure I'm objective to what I'm trying to achieve, what experience I'm having at the moment, what's unclear to me, and I'd bring in the different perspectives to help create that clarity, whether it be from trusted family, trusted friends, speak to old coaches, speak to people who gave sound advice or sound perspectives. And at different points in time there was new things to unlock, there was new experiences to be had, there was new ways to learn, and sometimes it was because I felt there was more potential, sometimes I hadn't had the chance to apply the lesson yet. Other times I had different levels of motivation. Sometimes it was really, really deep and intrinsically moving. Sometimes you're motivated by something really simple and extrinsic too. In the Beijing Olympics in 2008, we came last in the final. It was a really disappointing result. And so I took some time away from the sport, and when I came back 2 years later into the national team, I had coaches who said to me, now you're getting old, there's younger, fitter athletes who have been training over the 4 years in preparation for the London Olympics. You're probably not going to make it. And so although I made selection into the national team, I was asked to be the reserve, to not compete. And I was asked to pair up with another gentleman as reserves. Now, we both desperately wanted to strive to be in the Olympic team in 2012. It was now the 2011 World Championship season, and we had to make a choice about how we were going to train during that 2011 season and prepare ourselves, not just to be great reserves for the team, but to prepare ourselves for the following year. So we sat down with each other, we asked each other, why are we here? Why are we putting ourselves through this? Why are we going to do this? Why are we going to be great reserves? And some very personal motivations for why we would put ourselves in the role of reserve and prepare ourselves for a competition that was now 2 years away. If we want to do something truly transformative, we have to use all of our motivations, extrinsic and intrinsic. Think about the word transformation. It requires a fundamental change, a paradigm shift, either in yourself or in the organisation that you're in. Because it's going to get tough, because it's going to be challenging and because there's going to be setbacks, you have to be ready to experience all of those emotions that come with that. And anything that's meaningful will require that of you. So doing the work on what are the intrinsic motivators, as well as truly understanding the emotional choices that you're making, to actively choose that. I'm going to do this even though it's going to hurt. I'm going to do this even though there's setbacks, means that you're willing to go through all of that, to be able to look back on it someday with a sense of pride and know that you've achieved something remarkable. And so during that, we agreed that we were going to focus on some very, very simple components of the sport. Only one or two elements that were going to help us make a huge leap in boat speed. That focus gave us a huge leap forward in our performance and our speed, and the next year we were selected to race in the awesome foursome at the London Olympics. It wasn't about me wanting to be the best in the discipline. It was more about me wanting to find out how much potential I could unlock in myself. Like how far can I go with this, and what are the things that maybe I or other people don't think I'm capable of that I can achieve.
Post-race,
What can I help you with, mate?
how are you feeling?
I can feel my legs. I'm not sure if they're attached to my body, but I can still feel them. And other than that, looking forward to getting stuck with some more training.
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah, mate. Just getting it right.
2 months to dial it in.
Just getting the rest of it right. In competition, if someone doesn't carry their load and do their part for the team, everyone else in the team has to do 5 or 10 or 20% more work in order to try and make sure you go just as fast. So it is highly contingent on each person in the team doing their bit, and without it, you have no chance of success. So it's the ultimate team sport. The interesting thing about rowing boats is there isn't a quarterback. It's very hard to identify whether there's a skipper or a captain. And everyone has to play a different role. The role I had to play was I had to be really tuned into what was happening in the race around us. So I had to have a good use of my peripheral vision, good awareness of what was happening with the boat speed of our competitors, whilst also being really tuned into what was happening in our boat. After each of those Olympic Games, I had to stop and consider whether I'd be prepared to make all the choices that were required to try and step up to the next level, from being reserved to being a competitor, and from being a competitor to being a medalist. As athletes, you have to track and monitor performance and growth across so many different dimensions. You have to track it across your cardiovascular fitness, you have to track it across your strength, you have to track it across speed, and you have to see skill development as well. Along the way, you're also noticing how engaged your mindset is personally, but then also there's all of that that's contained within the team environment as well. How are we going on all of those measures as a team? In hindsight, I've realised that each time I've almost recontracted with myself what it was going to take to step up to that next level. And I think for leaders They need to be really aware when the context changes or when the goal changes. There might be a different version of themselves, a different version of leadership required in order to perform in this new context, and they might need to recontract with themselves. As an expert on performance for leaders and in leadership, I've learnt that the principles of high performance in sport and in rowing are principles from high performance in any domain. So we want to get really specific about the feedback loops we create. We get really granular in sport about the things you're trying to improve, down to the point of like how your grip is holding an oar handle. And then we're not specific enough about and granular enough about the feedback loops and what we're measuring and what we're seeing improve in organisations and in teams and in business, where we're using overarching KPIs, annual KPIs, rather than being really granular. Principles like recovery is structured into your week, to your months, to your years as an athlete, and we expect energy to just be spent throughout the whole year in an organisational setting. And last of all, goals matter. Goals matter. We use them in high performance sport. They create energy and focus around some very specific activities that allow you to achieve the goals. The interpretations of the goals might be different, or the focus on the goals is not the same across all team members. So for leaders in an organisational context, they have to be able to see growth occurring in so many different dimensions. They have to have goals at all levels. And when I say all levels, I don't mean all levels of a hierarchical structure. I mean all levels of the system, the individuals and what they're trying to achieve from a performance perspective, but also from a developmental perspective. They have to see how the team's growing and performing. And sometimes you can't see the performance yet because you have to wait until the end of the week or the end of the month or end of the quarter. So you have to be able to see where people are growing and developing all the time. We typically use performance measurement only, but there's also developmental growth, also learning and learning goals. We as a human race have learned so much about the whole human system through 2 years of pandemic. One of the things that I think we've learned about that is the whole person and the whole system they operate in impacts their performance. That goes all the way down into the environmental conditions that person's working and living in, all the way through to the relationships and interactions they have with others, and the environment and the macro context that they're operating within as well. When I was thinking about my 4 years of competition, I'd think about, well, what are the things I need to achieve in year 1 and year 2 and year 3 and year 4, but not just sequential like that. I'd be thinking about, well, what do I need to make sure I'm getting right in year 3? So therefore, what does that mean I need to get right today in year 1? Think about when you need to be engaged in different parts of your life, when you dial up the social part of your life in order to bring in friends so you feel like you've got that emotional support and that energy that comes from connection with others, and when are the times you need to, in fact, remove some of that from your life so you can be more focused. One organisation we've worked with, in order to create that transformation, it hasn't been easy at times, but the outcome is meaningful. The result for their people and for their customers and what they can do in the community is meaningful. And so the leaders have to experience all of those emotions at some stage along the way to achieve that. So to be a high performer, one of the things I've learnt is you have to choose to go into those emotional experiences knowing they're going to come, and you have to be motivated to experience them and work through them. We hear so often about organisations or businesses or teams being on a burning platform. You know what? I think most of us are on a burning platform every day, whether it's about getting the kids to school on time, whether it's about getting through all of our emails. But what ends up happening is we end up being short-term focused on putting out the fire, rather than being really clear on the choices we're making today that are going to create an incredible result in 1 or 4 or 10 years' time. So when leaders have a burning ambition, they're more convicted to say yes to some things and to say no to other things. You need to be able to manage the burning platform. You need to be able to see what's driving you to move forward and to get off from where you're currently situated. But you also have to have the ambition in mind as well. You can't just be looking to get away from where you are right now. You have to be looking to move towards. And for leaders to be able to hold both, that's the job. And when we can unlock that burning ambition and create the awareness around the burning platform and the emergence of those two motivators, we can unlock incredible performance. It's incredible to see the way individuals or teams are activated around something that's truly meaningful to them, that they have energy, they have excitement, that they're ready for the discipline and they're ready for the emotional challenges that are going to come with wanting to achieve something remarkable. But to see people's eyes shift in their gaze, they become steely, to see them stand up a little bit straighter, walk a little bit faster, to see people energised around something meaningful to them, it's an incredible moment to be able to share with people, and it feels like it's important work for leaders to be doing in the world. How do I feel when I look at my medal? I guess it's a beautiful but simple representation of so much hard work, adversity, support from loved ones, personal choices, and yeah, I guess proud would be the overriding emotion.